Hi, Tony here again from All the Remote Things. And if you're watching this, don't forget to like and subscribe. We'd love to have you on board and join our community at remoteaf.co. Go click the community button, it'd be fantastic. Listen, are you interested in what's happening in today's agility and what it can do for the global challenges? Well, this is the right cast for you today. I've got a fantastic cast. I've got Joanne Stone with me. How are you, Joanne?
I'm doing just wonderful. Thank you very much. I'm so grateful to be here. This is very exciting. Yeah.
I'm really grateful to have you, considering what we're talking about today. It's something that we've
Mhm.
been thinking about a very long time, and with the remote agility framework is one of our focus as well. But let's start with Joanne. How about you introduce yourself to everybody?
Yeah, so I will, there's so many ways I can introduce myself. I'll start off with the fact that I have two very large dogs, two cats, and four kids. So, and I think we were talking about earlier, I'm just a love of everyone and every being. So, but my professional life, let's put it this way, I came from an IT background, and so stepped into the agility world about 10 years ago, and have been doing some really cool things ever since. So for me, anyways. So and stepping into the planetary challenges is a very recent thing that I'm doing. I'm an independent consultant too, as well. So yes, I've been working across a bunch of different large organizations, helping them with transformation. So I work with business agility transformations, and I also do coaching. So I wear a lot of different hats, and I enjoy them all. And now I'm actually getting kind of like, what else, right? Like, and it started 2 years ago. Like, what else do I want to do? And that's where I started to form another company called Wick'd Agility, which is in in the space that we're talking about today.
Brilliant. So there is no good choice on the cast today. Amongst all of those things, which we'll obviously talk about some of those because they'll fall into the things we were talking about, is that you've started or you're part of a movement which is really about agility's role in the global challenges and thinking
Yes.
about how we can make a difference. And I think our community is an amazing community of people who make things happen. So I'm really excited by what's happening there. Let's start with let's talk a little bit about the what. What is it really? What's that vision that you have for this so that people can understand what we're talking about, Joe?
Yes. So the vision that I have around this is that we can start actually doing these things locally so we can create hope globally. Um, so um, so the mission that I have, I'll call it the mission, is where I want to bring agility up to the space of planetary challenges because it's calling us forth. And I want to be making the impact as quick as fast as we are doing it, as fast as the impacts that are happening around us. So to me, like there is some firm beliefs that we have, like as a group. There's a bunch of us actually. So it's, we've been, there's been lots of people around the globe that actually have been doing this. And for me, there's a lot of beliefs that we have in this, and that we do have all the tools necessary to actually step in and start doing this. Um, and that we really believe that some of the things that we can bring into this space around like team culture. Um, Also, I'm actually getting, like, my mind is getting a little bit overwhelmed with information that's going on. So on why I gather myself. So we believe that we have a lot of the tools that we can do in this particular space. And one of the things that we know is that we're great disruptors. And not that we have to be the disruptor of all these things, but the fact that we can come in and we can challenge the current organizations that are working in climate or in sustainability, and start working on how we can change that culture so that it can support what we're actually doing right now. So, we know that we can be disruptors and start making those changes and impacts within some of these organizations. But we also feel that we can start where we're at. right? So we don't necessarily have to look at going globally into these big like FEMA and all these organizations right now to help them make any changes that they need to have. But we know that we can do things starting where we're at. And even if it's working with your local community, or it's working with a homeless shelter, it's working with marginalized communities, or it's you just a developer who wants to make a difference, so you join a company around climate change, right? So we know that people start where they're at, and if you're pretty passionate about that, that's where you'll start. So it can be small or it can be big, right? But we really believe that we do have all the tools that are necessary to make an impact in this area.
And I think we have the connections as well. So I was just thinking as you were talking, right? And I know that you know, one of the people who's really involved in this is Lisa Atkins, who we've had on the cast as a good friend of mine, and she talked about, you know, the sustainability, and when I saw this happening, and she was involved, I could see how the strands of that were coming to. But then again, you know, there's other people like my good friend Jessie Sterenshoes, who's also been on the show, who's you know, she's been working with the United Nations. So we have these connections, these threads that perhaps other communities don't. So that makes a lot of sense to me. And here at Remote Agility Framework, which I don't often preface because the cast is really non-denominational, but I will today a little bit, is because that we've been thinking about that, you know, part of this remote revolution, if you like, you know, that pandemic change, is that there's a lot of environmental and social benefits from that. If you think about it, you know, there's the reduced emissions and the consumptions and spending, you know, from that commuting and the traveling to the office, you can see that's reduction already. And the urban sprawl and the waste, right? The reduction of that urban sprawl and bringing people back to revitalizing their communities. And we've seen that. Right? We've got a very strong community in that revitalization. So a lot of that regional renewal, if you like, and the vibrant communities and families, like people actually having time to take their kids to school, and you don't see that as part of this, but it really is part of that global challenge, because people, and then in their communities, they love their communities, they take time to be part of that and start looking at the environmental challenge with that as well.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. So the one thing that's the other thing that we believe as too is, and this is what I've heard, it's not just about climate change, right? It's also about social impact. It's also about economic. So when I start interviewing people all over, and I've been doing quite a few interviews because I'm very fascinated and curious about how all this works, how agility can help make a difference in this particular space. So so when I interview all these different people all over the world, you can see, you know, you can see how they're doing it, right? And you can see the different areas where they're making an impact. And a lot of them are social, but there's some which are climate, right? And and like Uta Eckstein, for example, she brings sustainability right into the corporation. Like I keep on announcing about her and her powerhouse. She's such a powerhouse. Oh,
we've had her on the cast as well, Joanne, and she's an old friend of mine. Yeah. She's so vibrant about what she's Hi, Uta, if you're watching.
No, she's absolutely wonderful. And that's her space, right? So it's really interesting because, again, back to, you know, we start where we're at, and we can start looking at the different areas of the spaces that we're in, for me, and the impact that I can make. So for me, I know I have so many connections. You talk about connections. I'm also big on community, right? So I'm really big on trying to help the community and move this forward. So I'm action-based, I'm visionary, and I'm action-based too. So I'm sort of like, okay, what do we need to do now? How else do we need to get involved? Like this awareness, right, is something that a bunch of us are doing, but more people are getting involved to do it as we work as a community to kind of get this stuff going, and more people are being aware, which is really, really neat. But that's how I can make an impact, right? And I'm also trying to work with my local government officials here, so I can see what I can do in helping my local community in Ontario. So got my hands in a few things, and it's really exciting. You know, it's really exciting.
It is. There's an Australian song called "From Little Things, Big Things Grow," and I think that what you're saying is that's a perfect analogy, right? It doesn't matter where we start. But if all of us are starting, then eventually it's going to join together and bigger things happen. So I'm really excited by that. Let's just a little segue, I guess, back. Where did the idea come from? What was the catalyst? What was that spark that got this happening, and that group of people that you're talking about?
Yeah, so the way that it sort of all kind of came together, it did start with Lisa. So back in 2020, the beginning of 2020, before the pandemic happened, Lisa and I were in a retreat together. I actually invited myself, and she said, "Sure, just join." So that's what you do. So we had a 4-hour drive to Utah, and what happened is she started to talk about the Australian fires, right, and what was happening, and she started talking about how she wanted to get a network of Agilists coming together in the disaster area and to help when these things happened. And so she started to talk about that, and it really started to, when we started like envisioning it a little bit more, I started to kind of going, yeah, like I can totally see that we can work in this particular space. Like for me, it's always been like, this seems like we often say it seems like common sense how we work in this collaborative way with the power of teams. I'll go power of teams. I get hooked into wicked problems, right? And when I think of wicked problems and the definition of wicked problems, and I think of Kneffin and God bless David Snowden, it's your framework, I know, So all of that the wicked problems and the fact that wicked problems requires a diverse team, right? And that we're in the space of the unknowns. And I'm going like, when you look at that, I'm going, oh my gosh, that's our space. That is where we need what I call wicked leaders who are really passionate and persevere, and they're resilient, because these problems that we have, which wicked problems are like planetary challenges, we may not be able to solve it in our lifetime. And it really connected to me once I started looking at wicked problems, and I started to look at what we do. And when I was talking to Lisa, and that sort of started going, yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to be in the space where people want to do a difference and do something that matters, right? And right in the middle of COVID, there were so many things that were happening. I was jumping in, doing all these different things because I wanted to make a difference, right? And I could see what the world was becoming, and I didn't like it. And so all of this kind of like melted together, and Lisa and I, and then I got fascinated as to, well, how does agility work with wicked problems? And I followed down that path of interviewing people. The first person I interviewed was Lisa. And then I started interviewing a 911 operator. And then I started interviewing other people just to kind of go, well, how do we fit? So I was very curious. And so as I kept on going through all those different interviews, which I have a bunch of them actually recorded for anyone to actually see, but I would collect different wicked wisdoms, right? And I would collect the practices that they're using. They're using open space, or they're using lean coffee, or they're using, visioning, or they're using, team agreements, so you can see the practicality that we're doing in these different problems. And then Lisa brought me on to a planetary challenges panelist conversation. And I sat there on the stage with, there's 5 of us on the stage, brilliant people who've made huge impact. And I sat there going, well, why am I here? Because I'm not the Anus. I'm not, a Yuta. I am not the Pia. I am not the Sally Alada, who is big, bold, and, I am not them, but I am Joanne. And what Joanne can do is this, right? So for me, it was around, I can see this vision. I can see how we play in this space. I can see all of that. And I can see that we need to be more in community about this, and we need to do this thing. So it started there. It started in my kind of like passion to kind of bring community together around this and start talking about it. And then it started. There was a group of 4 of us, right? And then it went, and then we started to put a community space out, and then it just continued. And when we went to Lisbon, And then I found through all the stories and through all the connections, right? Because I was connecting with people as I was going through, I found more stories. I found more people who want to do different things. I found all these different things. And so more people were coming up. How can I help? What can I do? What can we do? Right. And so Saf, we were talking about Saf, like he was awesome. Like Saf was like, we'll do like a World Cafe. And I go, great, because that I've not seen that before. So we'll do one, right? And so it just kept on blossoming, right? And so there is about I think about 15 of us right now. 15.
Well, you just added
right?
16, right, today. So
Yeah. Yeah.
invited myself, right?
And you know what? And well, the other thing is I love connecting with people. So I love having deep conversations, and I remember all their stories, right? So like I'm like at this regurgitation of stories. And I remember the lady from Australia who actually works at Epic Agile, and she's just totally awesome. And her whole thing is she came from the sustainability space, and she's going like, oh, yeah, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to work together. And she's a sustainable person. She came into the agility world so she can learn how to do that, to take it back into sustainability. Because guess what, folks? In the sustainability places, all those great companies that are trying to make a difference, their mindset is still in the space of, of the industrialization. Like they're still not doing things in the collaborative way that we're used to. And so the gift that we have in those particular spaces is the different way of thinking, the different way of looking at things, the different, the powers that we have in teams, and bringing out the best, and and doing things in small steps, and sensing, and responding and adapting. So like we have all that, right? So, and I'm excited to kind of bring that into that space. And I know, by the way, other people are doing already, right? And so I'm sure there's lots of people that are out there doing it, but the more that everyone's doing it, I think the more impact we're going to make.
I think, right? Though, that if you're watching this cast and you are doing those things and you want to get involved, we'll have a space in where Joan will let you know exactly how you can get involved, and we'll segue into that in a moment anyway, because that's part of what this is today, is to get the word out. And I love that well, I don't love the fact that we had them, but that prefacing of the Australian fires, I think worldwide people didn't realize how big they really were. But when you've got fires that are creating their own climate, they're that intense that they're creating a climate where they're having firestorms and dry lightning created by the intensity of fire. That is, if that is not a click for everybody to say something's happening here, then I don't know what is. So brilliant. And I do like you were talking about Saf Singh before. I just thought I'd mention that's who Saf is. He's been on the cast as well, a good friend of ours, and he's really vibrant when he tells this stuff as well. So fantastic that he's involved.
Yeah.
I think the question for me now, and people who are listening will probably be asking the same thing: how are you progressing with it? What are the things that they can get on board with? What are the things that you're doing, Joanne, that we can get involved with and make a difference?
Yeah. So thank you. So the group is started to come together. We're talking about, and we had started last December to figure out the things that we want to do. So one of the things that we've been doing is talking at each of our meetups, right? So we've been talking at different meetups all over the world, and we're sharing the stories. So bringing awareness, right? But the cool thing that's been happening as I've been doing that, for example, from my experience, is that in our own communities, we're not aware of sometimes because we don't talk about it, but you may have people in your community that are doing things. Yeah. And so when I was talking to a community in, I think, North Carolina, I asked the question, who's doing something here? And one lady's going, well, I'm trying to save a local forest and I'm using Scrum, but I'm having a problem. The team isn't talking together with each other that well. Like they're arguing or something like that. And so it became really interesting to me because I was going, we have people in our own community, and the community leaders were like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know we were doing it. I go, yeah, and there's an opportunity where you can help this person in your community as an Agile coach, right? Because you know how to kind of work with these guys to get the agreements, to get them up and going, or you help the Scrum Master, so for me, it's about being able to share these stories and being able to kind of get our communities to start thinking about it. So like my whole thing would be, if you're heading up a community or you're part of a community, look at bringing in people to speak about the challenge, the things that are around, build that awareness. So I'd love to. There's a bunch of us that would love to. I know that Joe Massive from our group, she started to do a podcast. Like, so all of us are starting to kind of like, start to do this thing. So for one thing, yes, so you can do that. Like go to your community, start talking about it. I know Lisa and I did a conversation kind of card thing that you can do, and it's in Miro, so you can use that if you want to start the conversation, or just have the conversation and figure out. And then I would encourage supporting that, like as a group, as a team, like a small project where they can get going.
Yeah, well,
So
here's my challenge to the community. Here's my
yeah,
challenge to the community. You're watching this. Don't sit back. Most of the Agilists and the Agile community are involved in meetups. Reach out. Do something about this. Reach out to Joanne, coordinate somebody, get somebody speaking this at your meetups. That's the minimum you can start here. Sorry.
oh, absolutely. No, like to me, it's like bringing that awareness, constantly bringing that awareness, right? So that's one thing. I just got off a call before coming here. We're doing a virtual conference in April, and we're going to do it around the 21st, which is the National Innovation and Creativity Day world thing. So I'm going, oh, that's kind of cool. So more is going to come out about that. And in there, again, we're going to bring more awareness, lightning talks, open space. We're going to do a few things. We're trying to keep it really simple too, but that's coming up. And also at the conferences, Agile Alliance, we're also going to be helping them with the theme of planetary challenges in there. And I know that it's also happening. UTA is also getting some talks in Amsterdam XP, I think it is. And there's a few other, and then Scrum org as well. So look out for me. It's like if you're in this particular space, I would actually look for putting out conference talks on it. So don't just think about the these new practices and stuff like that and how we need to do with our business teams. Start going, well, how did I use this locally? Like, what did I do locally? And it's really surprising for me, if you volunteer, you do any work anywhere, you typically inherently start utilizing a lot of the skills that you have, which is hilarious. Because when I did start interviewing people, they would go, oh yeah, I use coaching. I use this. Right. So, I think that we can start getting more, I think if you do have that, you can, sign up to some of those conferences and start sharing some of those topics. So I think the more, the better. And we have community meetups, which actually happen once a month. So the next one is going to be, I think, on February the 23rd. So we have a meetup group that people can join and be part of that, to hear some of the other stories which are going on, or just to connect with others that are like that, learn new techniques. We've had people kind of come in and talk to, for example, I'm going to bring up Yuta again. She was talking, and this girl kind of said, oh, I like that, I'm going to do that in my retrospectives instead. So it's actually sparking others, right, which is really, really cool. The other thing is, if people just want to get a hold of me, they can. And then, because we're always looking for volunteers or people to help us do different things. The other thing is, we're going to start doing, actually I've started doing, is agility impact projects. So in agility impact projects, we're looking for people, or 3 to 5 people. I've got 3 projects already where people they want to bring a project. They may not know what their project is, but they want to bring a project to us, and they want a group of 3 to 5 people together to help them with it. So we're gonna coach them, we're gonna mentor them on what they can actually do. So because some people get stuck and they're not sure what they can use and they need a little help. So there's a bunch of us in this community that are helping mentor as well, and I'm starting to do that. And so I'd be on the lookout for announcements of what we're going to do in that particular space, because honestly, a lot of us do believe that we all have the capability of doing it, and maybe a different perspective from a mentor or someone else that's there can help you through that as well. So yeah, that's just another idea that we're doing.
We'll make sure we have all of those links. Joan will give me those, and we'll make sure. I'll point down like that. They'll be down below.
Okay.
When you're watching this, so that you can connect with that. I think that's that's the important thing here. There's plenty of things. The other thing is, don't forget LinkedIn. So, you know, Joanne's got a couple of posts that are out on LinkedIn where you can just join in. That's literally, I saw it and immediately messaged Joanne and went, how do I get involved? Can I do my cast that will help you do that, right? So you can do anything. This is just a small piece of it that can help. And you know, myself and the team at Remote Agility Framework, we're keen to get involved because we see that, you know, this is our life. If you're sitting here thinking on the edge and etc., this is the future, not just for us, but it's for our children, right? It's not really about what we're going to leave behind for Keith Richards anymore. It's about thinking about what we're going to leave for our kids, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know, I love the fact that you're bringing that as well. Yeah, I'm really concerned and I am really worried about that, about what is happening and to my children and what I'm leaving behind for them. And for me, it's about doing what I can do right now, and trying to make that impact or trying to make that difference. So.
Fantastic. Look, we're very close to the end of our time. This has been just a wonderful talk. It's only the beginning, as I said.
Yes.
From small things, big things grow. So
Yeah.
we'll make sure that we get all those details. Joan, how can they get in touch with you if they really want to get involved?
So I think, yeah, they can connect with me on LinkedIn. And so it's Joanne Stone from Toronto. There's a lot of Joanne Stones in North America. So look for Joanne Stone Toronto. The other thing is they could connect with me on joanne@lodestones.ca. And so it's LODESTONES.ca, which is a play on the word load, lodestone, which, and my last name Stones. So they can connect with me there as well. And I just wanted to let you know too, we have started to collect the stories and links to all these, we'll call them agility impact leaders, and they're on an agility impact org site. So, and we have like our vision and all that stuff that's up there. The one thing I know I started at the beginning struggling with the beliefs, we just started to create that. So I have a page of our beliefs and I can send it off that way too, so people can connect to it as well. So yeah, I think that's so that's how they can connect.
That's great. You find all those in the show notes as well. Look, it's been fantastic having you on all the remote things today. If you're watching, don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to join our remote community, because our remote community at remoteaf.co, click the community button. Our remote community is a vehicle to get involved with this stuff as well, because we have the ability to do this, people. So again, thank you for being on all the remote things today, Joanne.
No, and I appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you to your beautiful community that you have here too. I really appreciate it. The world appreciates it. So thank you.
Let this be the beginning, is what I say.
Yeah.